Oh, what a pass inside!
We could win a championship.
Oh, it's blocked by Smart!
It's up to us.
Go to work! Let's go! The playoffs, you need your star players to play like stars.
We're going to zone you. We're going to trap you.
We didn't cut it all. We didn't pass it all. We didn't play it all. We got to play better.
I want a long life, a legendary one.
I mean, we're frustrated. Not supposed to be happy we down 0-2.
Wonder how I got this way, swear I got the...
Welcome back to NBA Countdown, presented by Mountain Dew.
And now we welcome in our senior NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski, who yesterday reported that the Celtics head coach Brad Stevens had a late night meeting with his team to discuss some frustration. So, Woj, what is the light you can shed on the conversation Celtics are having right now?
Maria, Thursday night after that Game 2 loss, when the emotions spilled over with Marcus Smart, some of his teammates into the locker room, and then into that meeting with Brad Stevens, a lot of that discussion was around a lot of talking and listening and talking about the frustration, certainly, of one they let get away in Game 2. But I'm told really the last 24 hours have been much more of a conversation about the schematic things that Boston's going to have to do against Miami, limiting Bam Adebayo in the paint, trying to figure out how to score and run an offense against that Miami zone that gave them a lot of trouble in Game 2. And remember this too, Maria and guys, these players, everybody here has been cooped up for 3 months in this bubble. I'm surprised that there hasn't been maybe some more of those emotional outbursts, especially given nobody gets to go home and back to their homes at night. These guys are around each other all the time. I think it's a natural byproduct of the pressure of the playoffs and this unique environment here in the bubble. And for Boston, they get back Gordon Hayward tonight. First time he'll play in a month. He's a go. He'll come off the bench. Analytically, statistically, he's been off the charts for Boston this season. The role he's played is a complementary player to Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and there's certainly a lot of pressure on this Boston team to find a way to win Game 3, and they get a big boost with the return, I'm told, of Gordon Hayward tonight from that sprained ankle that's kept him out for about a month now.
Yeah, Woj, Hayward's played in one postseason game. He had 12 points against the 76ers. But you're in the bubble, too, so we're going to be watching out for you for emotional outbursts because you just described the environment. So now I'm worried about you. Just take care of yourself. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Maria.
All right, let's talk about it. The series could easily be 2-0 in favor of the Celtics as they have dominated for large stretches of games 1 and 2. Boston has led double-digit leads for nearly 19 minutes, while Miami has not led by more than 8 points. But 2 strong quarters from the Heat have them in a good spot to return to the finals for the first time since 2014. They have never blown a 2-0 series lead in franchise history. But in Boston, all's not lost. Both the 2018 Cavs and 2019 Raptors trailed 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and both of them went on to win the series and reach the finals. So we just heard what Woj had to say about schematically they're having conversations. You guys have mentioned all of the emotions that are happening. So who's in the right here? What do you take from what you're hearing from Woj about the conversations they're having?
Well, that shows me that the players care. They want to win. They're not interested in leaving the bubble early. That's all part of it when you come from a culture of winning. You guys get into it. Me and Kevin Garnett, we constantly argue because we care. We were competitive. And that just shows you how competitive these guys are. They want to win. They care. And so now that they got to the schematics of the game, they can tone it down and say, hey, this is the game plan. This is what we need to do to beat the Miami Heat. But you need to let your frustration out. Look at the circumstances. You're in a bubble. You're around each other. You lost 2 close games that you probably should have won. All those things add up.
The previous game was the first time all year where Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and Kemba Walker each scored 20 and they lost. Which tells me that they were getting it done in spurts offensively. But then bizarre things happen with each of them. Kemba Walker struggling against the zone. Jaylen Brown struggling in the third quarter. Jason Tatum is not continuing to attack to get to the free throw line. They're going to need all 3 of those guys to be more aggressive, more effective, and more efficient versus this tough Miami Heat defense.
I think they had something like 100-plus passes in the fourth quarter. Now, if you weren't playing against a zone, somebody would say, wow, they did a great job of sharing the rock. Playing against a zone, you don't need 100 passes. You're overpassing the ball on the perimeter. Like this goes back to a simple play that people learn in college or in high school basketball. It's called gaps. You attack a gap, you force both defenders to help. A guy slides open to an open spot, his hands are ready, you shoot the rock, right? Like, so here's my thing. They were outscored 37-17 in the third quarter because they had a lot of passes. Just continue to keep your foot on the gas and have a sense of urgency and attack the zone as if it was a man-to-man.
And not to get too deep in the weeds, but the Miami Heat zone is a lot different than we're accustomed to seeing. Usually you see players like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson or Goran Dragic at the top of the zone.